The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. This book is all about understanding human nature and mastering the art of influence and power in your life, whether in business, relationships, or any social arena. The laws are not just theory. They've been applied by some of the greatest leaders and influential figures throughout history. Today, we're breaking down each law and exploring practical, real-world examples so you can see how these principles have been used in action. So let's get started. Law 1. Never outshine the master. The first law is about never making those above you feel insecure. Outshine them, and you could become a target of envy or revenge. A great example is the relationship between King Louis XIV of France and his finance minister, Nicolas Fouquet. Fouquet threw a lavish party to impress the king, but he outshone him in the process. The result? The king felt undermined and had Fouquet imprisoned for life. Takeaway: always make your superiors feel like they're in control, and don't outshine them unless you want to end up like Fouquet. Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies. Friends can betray you out of jealousy or resentment, but enemies can be more predictable. For instance, Abraham Lincoln famously appointed former political rivals, such as Edwin Stanton, to his cabinet. Why? Because Lincoln knew their capabilities and could keep an eye on them. By turning enemies into allies, you minimize the risk of betrayal from friends. Takeaway: be careful with friendships in power dynamics. Sometimes, enemies make better allies. Law 3. Conceal your intentions. One of the key strategies in power is misdirection. If people don't know what you're really up to, they can't block your goals. A great example comes from World War II, the D-Day invasion. The Allies set up fake operations to deceive the Germans about where the invasion would happen, keeping their true intentions hidden until the last moment. Takeaway: don't reveal your cards too early. Keep your true objectives concealed until it's too late for others to interfere. Law 4 will always say less than necessary. Silence can be powerful. By saying too much, you risk revealing your weaknesses or giving away your strategy. A modern example is when Warren Buffett, the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, speaks publicly. He's known for being concise and guarded, saying only what's necessary to convey his message and never more. Takeaway: in conversation and negotiations, less is often more. Law 5. So much depends on reputation, guard it with your life. Your reputation is everything when it comes to influence. In the 1990s, Martha Stewart built her entire brand on her reputation as the epitome of domestic perfection. However, her involvement in a stock trading scandal tarnished that image, which led to a major fall in her power and influence. Takeaway: protect your reputation as if your life depends on it. It often does. Law 6. Court attention at all costs. In today's world, attention is currency. Think about someone like Kim Kardashian. Whether you love her or hate her, you can't deny that she has mastered the art of staying in the spotlight. Her constant presence in the media has translated into a multi-billion-dollar empire. Takeaway: in the modern world, being visible is half the battle. Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. This law may seem cynical, but it's often true in competitive environments. Thomas Edison is credited with inventing the light bulb, but he had a team of scientists working under him who contributed heavily to his breakthroughs. Edison knew how to leverage their skills while taking the public credit for the innovations. Takeaway: delegate and use the talents of others, but don't be shy about claiming the credit. Law 8. Make other people come to you, use bait if necessary. If you can position yourself as a person of value, others will come to you. For example, think of Steve Jobs during his time at Apple. Rather than chasing investors or customers, he created products so desirable that the world came to him. iPhone launches had people lining up for days. Takeaway: create value, and let others come to you rather than always chasing them. Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. Actions speak louder than words. Take Julius Caesar's crossing of the Rubicon. Instead of debating his opposition or arguing his position, he took decisive action, marching into Rome with his army, which signaled the start of his rise to ultimate power. Takeaway: in a power struggle, don't waste time with arguments. Let your actions do the talking. Law 10, infection, avoid the unhappy and unlucky. Negativity and bad luck can be contagious. In history, King Louis XVI of France surrounded himself with corrupt and ineffective ministers. Their incompetence ultimately contributed to the collapse of his reign during the French Revolution. Takeaway: surround yourself with positive, competent people. Avoid those who bring you down. Law 11, learn to keep people dependent on you. Dependency is key to maintaining power. For instance, during the Renaissance, Cesare Borgia, a ruthless leader in Italy, ensured that his subordinates were dependent on him for their survival and prosperity. This made them loyal and kept him in control. Takeaway: keep people reliant on you for their success, and they will never challenge you. Law 12, use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. Sometimes, a small act of honesty or generosity can lower someone's defenses. Take John D. Rockefeller, who built his empire by being generous to those around him in times of need. His occasional displays of generosity gained him loyalty and trust, making it easier for him to expand his power. Takeaway: a strategic act of kindness can create long-lasting trust. Law 13, when asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy. Appealing to someone's self-interest is far more effective than asking for a favor. During his rule, Napoleon Bonaparte rewarded his soldiers with titles, land, and wealth rather than relying on loyalty alone. By appealing to their self-interest, he ensured their devotion. Takeaway: frame your requests in a way that benefits the other party. Law 14, pose as a friend, work as a spy. To gain insight into your rivals, observe them carefully, often under the guise of friendship. In modern corporate settings, this could mean casually gathering information about competitors during networking events. This intel can be crucial in gaining a strategic advantage. Takeaway: keep your eyes and ears open, information is power. Law 15, crush your enemy totally. Half measures won't do in a battle for power. This law comes from the ruthless strategies of the Roman Empire, which completely destroyed its enemies to prevent future threats. Carthage, a rival city to Rome, was wiped out entirely to ensure it would never rise again. Takeaway: when you defeat someone, ensure they can't rise to challenge you again. Law 16, use absence to increase respect and honor. Sometimes, less is more. When you're constantly present, people may take you for granted. By withdrawing at the right moment, you make people miss you, which increases your value. A great example is the story of French writer Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who withdrew from public life after his fame grew. His absence created intrigue and amplified his influence, as people began to revere him even more. Takeaway: step back occasionally to make people appreciate your presence. Law 17, keep others in suspended terror, cultivate an air of unpredictability. Unpredictability keeps people on their toes and prevents them from plotting against you. Take for instance Richard Nixon, the US president, who adopted a madman theory in negotiations with foreign leaders during the Vietnam War. He made others believe that he was capable of extreme actions, keeping adversaries cautious and uncertain. Takeaway: keep your opponents guessing by being unpredictable. Law 18, do not build fortresses to protect yourself, isolation is dangerous. Cutting yourself off from others can weaken your position. In medieval times, the over-reliance on fortified castles often led to isolation, making rulers vulnerable to being outmaneuvered or outnumbered. French King Louis XVI isolated himself from the people in his palace at Versailles, leading to his downfall during the French Revolution. Takeaway: stay connected with the world and your allies to avoid becoming isolated and vulnerable. Law 19, know who you're dealing with, do not offend the wrong person. Greene warns that not all people react the same way to slights or challenges. Knowing your audience is key to avoiding unnecessary conflict. For example, Al Capone, the infamous gangster, was notorious for violent retaliation if crossed. Many made the mistake of underestimating his ruthlessness, paying the ultimate price. Takeaway: understand the personalities of those you deal with, and tread carefully around sensitive egos. Law 20, do not commit to anyone. By not aligning yourself too closely with one person or faction, you keep your options open. A prime historical example is Queen Elizabeth I of England, who famously refused to marry, using her availability as a bargaining chip to maintain alliances with different European powers. Takeaway: stay flexible, and avoid being locked into any one alliance too quickly. Law 21, play a sucker to catch a sucker, seem dumber than your mark. Playing dumb can lure others into underestimating you, giving you the upper hand. In the 1970s, TV mogul Ted Turner used this strategy while negotiating with rivals. He acted less knowledgeable in certain areas, allowing competitors to let their guard down, only to strike when they least expected it. Takeaway: feigning ignorance can disarm people and open up opportunities for you. Law 22, use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power. Sometimes surrendering can be the ultimate strategy. By conceding temporarily, you can bide your time to strike later. An example is the ancient Roman general Fabius Maximus, who used a strategy of retreat and evasion to wear down Hannibal's forces during the Second Punic War, eventually turning the tide in Rome's favor. Takeaway: sometimes the best way to win is by retreating strategically and regrouping. Law 23, concentrate your forces. Focusing all your energy and resources on a single goal can bring incredible success. For example, Bill Gates concentrated his efforts on building Microsoft and dominating the software market, rather than diversifying into other areas early on. This allowed him to create a monopoly before expanding into other ventures. Takeaway: focus your resources on a specific target before spreading yourself thin. Law 24, play the perfect courtier. Courtiers, or people close to those in power, often rose by mastering the art of subtlety, charm, and diplomacy. The perfect modern example is Henry Kissinger, who served under multiple US presidents. His ability to navigate complex political dynamics while keeping his own power intact made him indispensable. Takeaway: learn the art of diplomacy and subtle influence in high-powered environments. Law 25, recreate yourself. The ability to transform your image is crucial for maintaining power over time. Consider David Bowie, who constantly reinvented his persona throughout his career, staying relevant across decades and gaining new audiences with each transformation. Takeaway: don't be afraid to change your identity or image to adapt to new circumstances. Law 26, keep your hands clean. Never get your hands dirty in public, instead, use others to do your bidding. During the Renaissance, Cesare Borgia used a ruthless enforcer to carry out his dirty work, then publicly executed him to distance himself from the cruelty. This preserved his reputation while eliminating a potential threat. Takeaway: delegate unpleasant tasks to protect your public image. Law 27, play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. Leaders who inspire deep loyalty often tap into people's desire to believe in something greater. Apple's Steve Jobs created almost a cult following by positioning the brand as revolutionary, instilling a sense of purpose in his customers and employees. Takeaway: tap into the emotional needs of others to inspire loyalty and devotion. Law 28, enter action with boldness. Hesitation leads to failure, while boldness often results in success. Think of Elon Musk and his audacious plan to send people to Mars. Despite the odds, his boldness has attracted investors, media attention, and public support for his ambitious vision. Takeaway: act boldly when pursuing your goals, hesitation can be fatal. Law 29, to plan all the way to the end. Success comes from foresight and careful planning. A historical example is Hannibal, the Carthaginian general, who planned every step of his invasion of Italy, including crossing the Alps with elephants. Though he ultimately lost the war, his meticulous planning nearly brought the Roman Empire to its knees. Takeaway: always think several steps ahead and have a clear endgame in mind. Law 30, make your accomplishments seem effortless. By making difficult feats appear easy, you gain admiration and respect. A great modern example is LeBron James, whose performance on the basketball court seems almost effortless despite the incredible amount of work and preparation behind the scenes. Takeaway: hide your hard work and make success look natural. Law 31, control the options, get others to play with the cards you deal. Offering people a choice makes them feel in control, but if you control the options, you're still in charge. In the 20th century, Henry Ford famously offered his Model T car in any color, as long as it was black. This limited choice allowed him to streamline production and maintain control over his market. Takeaway: give people options, but ensure those options work in your favor. Law 32, play to people's fantasies. People often prefer fantasy over reality, and savvy leaders can use this to their advantage. In the 1920s, Adolf Hitler promised the German people a return to national greatness and economic recovery, feeding into their fantasies during a time of hardship. Though tragic in its consequences, his manipulation of public sentiment is a powerful example of this law. Takeaway: play into people's dreams, especially in times of uncertainty. Law 33, discover each man's thumbscrew. Everyone has a weakness. The key to power is identifying it and using it to your advantage. In business, this could be learning about a competitor's cash flow problems and exploiting it during negotiations. Takeaway: discover the weaknesses of those around you and use that knowledge to strengthen your position. Law 34, be royal in your own fashion, act like a king to be treated like one. People will treat you the way you present yourself. In the corporate world, think of someone like Richard Branson, who has always carried himself with confidence and a larger-than-life personality. He cultivated the image of a maverick billionaire, and people treated him accordingly. Takeaway: carry yourself with self-assurance and people will follow your lead. Law 35, master the art of timing. Success often comes down to timing. An example is George Washington, who masterfully timed his retreats and attacks during the American Revolutionary War. He knew when to hold back and when to strike, which played a huge role in the eventual American victory. Takeaway: learn to wait for the right moment and seize it when it comes. Law 36, disdain things you cannot have, ignoring them is the best revenge. Publicly obsessing over something you can't attain gives it more power over you. For example, during his political career, Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for decades. Instead of railing against his captors, he maintained dignity and poise, eventually turning his imprisonment into a symbol of strength. Takeaway: show indifference toward the things you can't control, and they'll lose their hold over you. Law 37, create compelling spectacles. Powerful imagery can captivate and inspire people. Think of the moon landing in 1969. NASA understood the power of spectacle and used the event to bolster American pride and international prestige. Takeaway: use striking imagery and grand gestures to command attention and influence. Law 38, think as you like but behave like others. In public, it's often better to conform while keeping your true thoughts private. A historical example is Galileo Galilei, who, despite his groundbreaking scientific discoveries, publicly recanted his support for the heliocentric theory to avoid punishment by the Catholic Church. Takeaway: keep your unconventional thoughts hidden in hostile environments. Law 39, stir up waters to catch fish. Creating chaos can help you uncover hidden weaknesses in others. For example, during times of corporate mergers or layoffs, some individuals stir up fear and uncertainty, revealing vulnerabilities in their rivals that they can later exploit. Takeaway: use disruption to make others act impulsively and reveal their true nature. Law 40, despise the free lunch. Greene warns that nothing comes for free, there's always a cost. A modern example is the way some businesses use free trials to lure in customers. Once hooked, the costs start piling up, often without them realizing it. Takeaway: be wary of accepting things without understanding the hidden price. Law 41, avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. Trying to fill the shoes of a legend can be a mistake. For example, after Steve Jobs passed away, his successor, Tim Cook, chose not to emulate Jobs' style exactly. Instead, Cook carved out his own path, allowing him to succeed on his own terms. Takeaway: be your own person rather than attempting to mimic a powerful predecessor. Law 42, strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Removing a key leader can cause the collapse of their entire following. A historical example is the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which sparked World War I and led to the downfall of many empires. Takeaway: if you want to dismantle a group, target its leader. Law 43, work on the hearts and minds of others. Influence goes deeper than just control, it's about shaping the desires and emotions of others. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches worked on the hearts and minds of the American people, inspiring a powerful movement for civil rights through emotional appeals and moral authority. Takeaway: win people over by appealing to their emotions and ideals. Law 44. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. Mirroring your enemy's actions can throw them off balance. This strategy was used by guerrilla fighters during the Vietnam War, who adopted the U.S. military's tactics and equipment, making it difficult for American forces to distinguish friend from foe. Takeaway: use your opponent's strategies against them to create confusion. Law 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. Change is essential, but too much too quickly can cause resistance. An example is Gorbachev's reforms in the Soviet Union. Though his intentions were good, the rapid changes led to instability, contributing to the collapse of the USSR. Takeaway: introduce reforms gradually to avoid backlash. Law 46. Never appear too perfect. Appearing too flawless can stir envy and resentment. Even historical figures like Julius Caesar occasionally showed vulnerability to endear themselves to their followers. Takeaway: show occasional flaws to humanize yourself and avoid envy. Law 47. Do not go past the mark you aimed for in victory, learn when to stop. Pushing too far can lead to disaster. After conquering most of Europe, Napoleon made the mistake of invading Russia, a campaign that stretched his forces too thin and ultimately led to his downfall. Takeaway: know when to stop after a victory and consolidate your gains. Law 48. Assume formlessness. By staying adaptable, you make it difficult for others to predict or control you. In today's world, think of companies like Amazon, which constantly evolve their business model, making it nearly impossible for competitors to keep up. Takeaway: be fluid and adaptable in all situations, and you'll be harder to pin down. And there you have it, the 48 laws of power, broken down with practical examples. Whether you agree with these laws or not, there's no denying that they offer valuable insights into human nature and power dynamics. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which law resonated with you the most. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.